this is the Settlers 4. One of my favorite fucking video games. One of my favorite strategy games too. It's fucking weird. I love it. I'm just gonna hop into a custom map quick so that I can actually no, I can just show you the buildings. Okay, so it's very simple. You start with your little villas and your little army. This time I have a lot of units actually. You don't normally start with this many. And then your one tower. You got a whole bunch of resources and shit. So basically how it works is you want to destroy the enemy's buildings. These things. You want to take them over so they don't have any territory. Because if you build one of these, you get more territory. That means also if the enemy takes them, you lose territory. There we go. See? Built one, and now I've got all this extra territory. So that's the objective. You want to build these and take over your enemy's ones to destroy the enemy's territory. Okay? Now, all these little guys, these red guys, they're red because my player color is red. I can't control them. Manually, I can't control them. But if I place a building foundation like this is a woodcutter's hut. Those guys will come first, the little spade carriers. What are they called? There's a whole bunch of tabs here, it's really cool. Because here's the settlers menu, which lets you look at your settlers, so you can see all the different types. There's workers, strikers, diggers. These guys, the spade guys, they are diggers. So what happens when you place a building is you get the diggers, and then they make the land level. Which is actually a thing, because if you see over here, it's closer towards a redder color. You know, it's orange and yellow. So that means it's going to take more digging to get this place level than it would these green ones, right? So the diggers will take longer there. So the diggers start digging, then while that's happening, these guys that don't do anything most of the time, they will carry the resources that are needed to build it, 2 wood and 2 stone, to it, and then when the diggers are done, then these guys in the little brown shirts, they will come along and build the building. Now the cool thing is once it's done, one of these red guys will go over here and pick up a woodcutter's axe, right? And then walk over there and he will become a woodcutter. So most of the jobs require tools, which is really cool, and they require a unit. Now this is building to get more units, and it's really cool. So what you'd normally do is you'd make like a woodcutter's hut and then a sawmill. So what happens is the woodcutter goes and cuts down the tree, gets a log, brings it back. Then one of these red guys brings the log from the woodcutter's hut to the sawmill place, and then the sawmill guy, I don't know what he's called, sawmiller? Anyway, he cuts it up into planks, and the planks go and be used for more building. It's really cool. It's like a real fucking production system. You see these little pillars over here? That's for mining. You get a stone miner, he lives in this little hut. Or a stone cutter, I guess. He goes and grabs a pick. Where are the picks? They're the picks. But yeah, this is them. They make a nice circle if you get like a full bunch of them. He gets the picks, he goes and chops the stone here, and he puts it there, and then it's stone blocks. Then you can use it for building. Really cool. There's like one resource that is limited in this entire game, and it is stone. It is the only limited resource because these run out. And for wood, you get this nice little building. This is a forester's hut. So one chap goes in there, he doesn't use a tool somehow, I don't know why, but he plants trees in an area so that woodcutters will always have trees to cut down. Very important. Then we move on to the mining side of things, because obviously the goal is to make an army, right? You make an army out of this building, the barracks. Very good building, right? I'm placing all these foundations, I'm gonna run out of resources. But yeah, you make the barracks, okay? And then you need swords and bows and whatever unique thing this civilization has. This civilization has medics, which don't have a unique tool. They just use the sword like the normal swordsman, which is kind of cool. So you don't have to make a unique weapon, because I think if you're the Vikings you have to make an axe, and if you're the Mayans you have to make a blow dart gun. And to do that you need this little bugger, the weaponsmith's hut, right? That's what he looks like. And what he does is he uses a hammer, this one over here, and he gets a silver ingot, I'll explain that later. And a barrel of coal. This is like a basket of coal, not a barrel, a basket of coal. This is coal here. There's like 8 bunches there. Then some more there, some more there, right? And he turns that into weapons, right? Pretty good. So he makes your swords and your stuff and all that. Swords and bows and just pretty much swords and bows. You do also get commanders, but that's a bit more complicated. Similarly, this guy, this one here, very similarly made. This is a toolsmith's workshop, I think. Toolsmith's works, yeah. So he makes all your tools. So you make him, and then whenever you need a tool like a scythe or an axe, because these will run out eventually if like you use too many. Like I make a lot of fucking grain farmers, so I normally end up making more scythes, right? And also miners too, so I end up making more picks. Because it's miners use picks and stonecutters use picks, so it's a very well used tool, so I need to make more. So what I do is I click on this toolsmith guy, and I tell him what tool to make. Then he makes it. He also uses a silver ingot and a coal basket. Pretty cool. Now the silver ingots is this building. This guy makes silver ingots. So this guy, I don't think he uses a tool. So this guy, he doesn't use a tool. What he does is he takes coal, coal basket and an iron ore basket, which is this one, and he just chucks it together and he makes a iron ingot. Sorry, not a silver bar, iron bar, right? And that's used for the weaponsmith and the toolsmith. Very good. Now for that, you need an iron mine and a coal mine. Now they're miners, so they use pickaxes, right? Very simple. To figure out where they go, you make this nifty little guy. You gotta go over here to the settlers tab, and then you go to specialists. And then he is this guy. He is a geologist. They use hammers, so you make 5 of them. Now you see it nicely highlights which guys are gonna become geologists. Very cool. And it takes them a while to actually get there and pick up the hammers. They are a few of the specialist units which can actually leave your territory, because these guys can't leave your territory. If they leave your territory, they die. They actually expire and die, and they go up to heaven. It's a little thing. That's kind of cool, I guess. I suppose it was their way of getting around dead bodies. This game was made in a time where dead bodies were very not shown. Okay, so now you see what these guys are doing. You see, I found a coal thing, right? Now, however many symbols there are, that's how rich it is. So this is a very rich coal area. And now they're gonna go automatically and do this entire area, because you can only make mines on this like brownish area. This is snow-capped, but you can't walk on it or anything. But yeah, so now they'll find resources like this, and then you'll place a coal mine here. It'll take up a few signposts, 4 or 5, maybe 3. If you're lucky, it'll only take up 2. Because that means you can get more on the rest of the signposts. But yeah, you make a coal mine there, or if it says iron, you make an iron mine, and there you go. You guys get at it. Your miners get at it, and then they give you the ore, the coal ore and the iron ore, and then that goes into your production system, right? Now, your miners are the only guys in the game that need food. So now for food, there's a whole system. It's all very simple. It's the same sort of setup across all civilizations. The only difference is what gets made into your meat, pretty much. So you get these grain farmers. This is the grain building. That's what it looks like. Now you want to put it to the south of your civilization. So like you want to put it at the southernmost part, but where there's a whole bunch of cleared area. Because I've noticed if you put it like let's say here, what happens is when your people are walking back and forth as they do, they make a pass through your grain fields, and that means you can plant less grain because there's a pass through it, right? Makes sense. So you're gonna want to put them like at the southernmost open area, because obviously if there's trees they can't plant there, if there's stones they can't plant there, if there's a little stream they can't plant there. They need an open area. So that's the beginning process of your food system, is grain. Normally I make like 4 or 5 of these guys, because you just need that much to keep all your miners happy. Okay, you see they found some iron here. See, it looks a bit different, and it's the iron ingots instead of the coal piles. Makes it a lot easier to see. Now from grain, it goes to two different places. One is the grain mill. Oh yeah, I was going over the tools. The grain farmer uses a scythe, obviously. Okay, now from there it goes to the grain mill, where it is milled into flour. I don't think the grain mill doesn't... The miller doesn't use a tool. He has the grain mill. He doesn't need the tool. So that from there it goes to the bakery. Now the bakery needs water as well. So what you get is a little water worker's hut. You just place it here next to one of these rivers. It's basically a guy with a bucket. He goes, picks up the water, and he puts it next to the building. And then these red guys take it to whatever building needs it. Only two buildings need it, and one is the bakery to mix it with flour to make bread, and the other is the food production building, the animal grower. So for these guys it will be the sheep ranch. It looks like that. For the Mayans, I think they have... I don't know what the Mayans have. I don't know what the others have either. But they each have like their own like ranch. And they grow their meat animals. But yeah, back to the bread. After the bread is made from the bakery, that generally goes to the miners. But the miners have preferences. So like the coal miners, they like bread. The other ones that like bread is actually the stone miners. That's this symbol. This is for stone. Because you can get a stone mine as well, instead of having to rely on the stone cutters. Makes the same resource, it's just mined instead of cut. Which can be more useful because I think there's more in one stone mine than I can get here. And I don't need extra territory for it. So yeah, it's the stone miners and the iron miners that like bread. And then it's the... for fish. Fish is very simple. It's literally you just make a fisherman's hut by the water. But you have to be careful. You see there's jumping fish there? You have to make it by the jumping fish. If you don't make it by the jumping fish, he won't catch any fish. And then he just uses a fishing rod. Very simple. The fish goes to the gold miners and the sulfur miners, I think. Sulfur is used later on, I'll explain that in a bit. But yeah, the fish goes to the gold miners. Now the gold miners, they make gold bars. There is quite a few uses for it. A lot of buildings, like these buildings, they have a use. They're not just decorative. You know, like all these funny things like that and like that. They might look like they're useless, but they do actually have a use. They use gold, and then this uses gold. This is very important in late game. Sort of. You don't really need it. It does help. Not necessary. I don't think it's necessary at all. So scratch that being very important. It's just like an extra that you can do if you want to. Basically what this building does is it makes wizards. That's it. They can do magic and shit. It generates them over time. So you can end up with like 50 of them if the game goes too long. They don't even cost anything, they just show up. I don't know. But yeah, that's what gold's for. The other thing it's for is when you make soldiers, you get different tiers of soldiers. So like, let me select soldier. You see this is a level 1 swordsman. Now to make a level 2 swordsman, you need a sword and 1 gold bar. To make a level 3 swordsman, you need a sword and 3 gold bars. Very simple. And then it follows it the whole way. This is the priest that randomly pops up, the mage guy. So like when you highlight a whole bunch, it puts them all underneath, and then their collective health bars. If you select them individually, you'll see their individual health bars. Not that it has a number, you can just see the bar. And then there's this unit, the squad leader. Very OP, very useful. Basically what he does is he's like a massive AoE buff to your soldiers. He makes them stronger and more durable, I think. To make him, you need to make a special armor thing from the armory. From the weaponsmith. It's like a special thing. You have to select and make it. I think it still only uses 1 iron ingot and coal, but when you actually make him, it takes 3 gold bars instead of 2 or 1. So it's the most expensive unit. Yeah, these guys will just go on forever. They'll do loops and shit. And then yeah, I forgot to tell you about the message bar. It does this. It disappears sometimes. I don't know why. I don't know how to get it back. It just does it, and maybe it might come back. I'm not sure. Right, back to the food. We were on the meat section. So you make the sheep ranch. It gets grain and water. Now that grows the sheep. It grows up over time. Then when it's big enough, you get a slaughterhouse and you go kill it. Then it becomes meat. Now the iron guys and someone else likes that meat. I wonder if it's the iron and the sulfur guys. I can't remember, but it's the iron and someone, maybe. Yeah, the iron guys like it, so they get the proper meat. Not fish or bread, they get meat. You can get meat by hunting, which is what these little animals, these little fox, and there's a deer here, those guys roaming around. You can hunt those. I don't know, I don't normally do it, so I don't know if it's self-restocking, you know, like, oh look, my forest has made trees, brilliant. I don't know if it regenerates, so I don't know if once you kill all the animals here you have to move him on. If you do, that's really shitty and it's not really worth it. It's better to just grow your sheep. Okay, that is the food side of things done. What's next? Okay, let's go to the military side of it. So there's castles, right? Because there's these buildings, which is default. They're just little towers. I think all military buildings, like towers, large towers and castles, they all add the same like influence radius extra, because you can see it's like that much, or like that much distance that it added. Small towers, they can only hold 2 archers and 1 swordsman. Large towers, these guys, they can hold 3 of each. And then castles, they can hold 5 archers and 4 swordsmen. Now, how it works is when you're under attack, they break down the door, this wooden door, and then they start attacking. And what happens is the first swordsman defends by himself. I think he has a slight bit of bonus damage, I'm not sure. The archer on top, this one closest to the door, he starts dropping rocks on whoever's attacking. Now you might think that, oh, that's unfair. It's a 1v2. No, it's not. 2 guys at a time can attack the guy in the door. And how it works with a castle is it'll start with 1 swordsman at the front, and then when that guy dies, another one falls. So it's always attacking 1 at a time. Right? So it takes really long to actually get in, because you got to kill all of them bit by bit. Aside from that, there are, well, I suppose they're called vehicles. It's basically like siege weapons sort of thing. I don't make them because it's so much effort to just get into that, because you got to find sulfur, and then you got to make an ammo maker, and then a vehicle haul, and then all that other shit. It's just unnecessary because they don't, I don't think they do much. I think they're mainly used for destroying buildings, so like it'll like one-shot a tower or some shit. I don't even know what the vehicle is for these guys. I know that each race is supposed to have their own vehicle that they make. And then the other thing that they make is actually, they make a donkey cart, which is kind of a weird thing, but it's useful in certain game modes. It's useful in like trade game modes or like diplomacy games or some shit like that. It's not that useful in combat, like in domination style matches, I guess you'd call them, where you want to kill your opponent. They're more for like trade victories and shit like that. I don't know, but they're kind of useful in those missions only. But okay, so now into that section. The donkeys, you get a donkey ranch. It works the same as a normal like other ranch. You get grain and water, and then you grow a fucking donkey. Now what you can do with the donkey is you place this marketplace down, right? You have one in your town, and then you have one in like an ally's town or like another section of yours, because you can make another section. Like not all your territories have to be connected, but here's the thing, you can't move resources from this territory to another territory, because the only people that move resources are these guys, and they can't leave your territory or else they die, right? So you get a donkey, you fill it with resources, and you send it over, and then well, you get a donkey cart, you fill it with resources and send it over, and then to send it over you need to make a market, I think. Yeah, you make a marketplace here, and you make one in the other territory, and then you send the resources back and forth with the donkey, and the donkey takes them. Pretty good, I think. I haven't actually used it because it seems like a fucking waste of time, but it's cool. It's cool that they put it in the game, you know? What else you can do is you can turn the donkey into like once it's got its cart, you can make it like a pioneer donkey, which means that a whole bunch of villagers, a whole bunch of these settlers will jump in with it. I think it's like 10, and then they'll drop some tools in it like spades and hammers, and I think it's just spades and hammers. And then you can send it somewhere on its own outside of the territory, and then like it'll start its own new territory. I would show you this myself, but it would take like 3 hours to do, so I'm just talking you through it. So yeah, so that's the donkey side of things. A nice thing you get is this thing. It is a storage area. So what you do is once it's actually, I'll build it just to show you. Okay, now what you do with these is when your empire gets, or like your territory gets like really huge, because it takes so long for these people to walk across, like look, to walk from there to there, it's gonna take like 3 minutes, right? That's a fucking long time. So you don't want to, like let's say you're building something all the way down here, you don't want your units to run all the way back here to pick up the wood and then all the way back again, right? So what you do is you make these preemptively. So like let's say you start a new area and you know you're gonna build a whole bunch of buildings. Like over here I'd end up building like a stone cutter, some mines and shit, so I'd make one over here or like over here, and then my guys would fill it up with, I'd select planks and stone, and then my guys would fill it up with planks and stone, so that when they're building the buildings here, they just have to walk back there to go pick up the resources instead of walking all the way there. Like all the way there, so the time is actually a lot shorter. Yes, you do still have to bring the resources from there to there, but that's a separate trip, and that will go on automatically before I actually need the resources. So that saves time. It's pretty good. It's like a waypoint station for resources. It's very useful. So you can do that for all sorts of things. Literally all of these resources. This is the armor thing for the squad leaders. This is bow, sword, sulfur. Right, very good. That's for the vehicles and warships. That's another section. And then ammo, which is actually made from stone. It's made from just normal stone. It's made in the ammo makers. Where is it? Yeah, the ammo makers works. He just makes ammo, and that'll be for the vehicles, the siege weapon vehicle thing, and the warships. I hope you're all following, because I'm not going over this again. Just watch the video again, I don't give a shit. Very useful item. Okay, and now I want to finish the things on land first. I think I've done most of it. This is just the residences, because as you're filling up jobs and you're making soldiers, like you can make like 700 soldiers in a game, so you're gonna need a lot of fucking population, so you make residences. This adds 50. Now, you can't just, okay, when you build it, right, it builds normally, and then what, okay, let me just speed up a bit. See, and what happens is one guy, you can see it happening, you see, watch. Oop, one guy pops out. So they pop out at one guy at a time until this countdown runs down. The large residence makes 50, right? It takes a while for it to happen. But now, you can't just destroy this building after they're out. Because if you look here, there's beds. This building adds 50 beds. So, you gotta make sure that this number is low enough that you can get rid of 50 beds off of here. As long as my settlers are below 110, I can get rid of this building. If they're above, I cannot. Because then they'll go on strike. Which means they'll be useless. Pretty bad. Not the end of the world though, because only the people without beds will go on strike. It's not like everyone's gonna go on strike. So you'll lose like, I don't know, a little bit. But yeah, you get smaller versions. I don't ever make them because I don't think it's resource efficient to make smaller ones. Oh no, let me just look. Yeah, it's the same. It's, if you make a small residence, that's extremely inefficient with resources. But yeah, large residence and medium residence, it's the same sort of efficiencies. Unless you're Trojans for some reason. I'm just looking at the description in the bottom right over here. Apparently Trojans only get 20, which is kind of weird, I don't get that. But yeah, so this isn't efficient if you're Trojans, otherwise it's as efficient as the large residence. Good enough. Okay, where was I? Still on the land things. I've done this area, I've done this area. Oh no, I haven't. Okay, now the vineyard, right? Other civilizations will have different things. So the Romans have a vineyard because they like wine. Or vineyard, I know people use a vineyard. So vineyard, it does say in the description that you should plant it on a hill with sun. So you won't do it here because you see it's a bit shaded, you'll do it like here. And then he'll just plant grapevines. He'll plant grapevines one at a time. Then he'll harvest them and he'll put them in amphoras, which is just like a Roman jug of wine. Now what that does is it goes to this little building. This is a small temple. Now this thing, it gets those offerings, they're called, because it's different between each civilization. Like the Vikings, they will have a beekeeper's hut, and then they will have to plant it in these flowers, or they'll have to build it in these flowers, and then they'll get bees, and then they'll make honey. And then that honey will be made into mead in a mead, I don't know what it's called, like a mead maker's hut, I'm guessing. And then that mead will become an offering for their small temple. And the Mayans, they have some sort of cactus plant. I think they make tequila. Big whoop, the Mexican guys make tequila. They need to plant it in this area, this desert area. But they need to be down here. And then they make it in a tequila maker's hut, which uses the plant choppings and water. Surprising, eh? They add water to tequila. It's very surprising. Anyway, and then they go to their small temple, and what happens is the guys come out one at a time. One guy comes out, he grabs one offering, he goes all the way up, he tips it into this fucking fountain, he goes all the way back down, you get 1 mana. 1 mana. That is this number here. This is your mana. Right? Now this goes back to the wizards, or the priests that come out of this building. Now they have a whole bunch of spells. It's their only use. They can't attack, they can't run, they're fucking slow. They're like the slowest unit in the game. But they have spells. And those spells are actually OP. Like for the Romans, you get one that randomly turns the enemy units, 10 of them, into your units. Why? Fucking magic. Why the hell not? And then there's a whole bunch of different spells. I'm not gonna go into that because it's a whole fucking story. So yeah, I think that's all of the land buildings. Yes. Okay. Oh yeah, there's also the healer's quarter. You put it here, your soldiers that are injured walk in one at a time, they get healed, they come out. Then the lookout tower, it rings a bell when there's enemies nearby. Has very big vision radius, because you can see you can't see much outside of your territory. This can see a lot outside of your territory. It can see that much outside of your territory. It's a fucking lot of range. That's more range than your units can see. So like, you will see them before they see you with this thing. So it's sort of good. Okay, now into the ocean. The ocean is very limited and very expensive. You only get 2 shipyards, I guess you'd call them. You get a harbor. I think this is just for trade. So what you do is, similarly to the donkey, you make trade ships. And then they will take resources back between this trade port and the other trade port. Like how the donkey takes resources from one marketplace to the other marketplace. That's all this one does, I'm pretty sure. The shipyard, it makes all the ships. So it will make your trade ship, it will make your transport ship, and it will make your warship. Now your transport ship only carries 15 units. That's it. But it can carry like any fucking unit. Any unit you can select can go inside the transport ship, including donkeys and I think siege weapons as well. They can just pop in. And then ships are extremely slow. They are very slow. And then the warships, there's only one warship. I think They're all pretty much the same. I think the Vikings might have a different warship for some reason. Probably stronger than the normal ones. But they use ammo as their weaponry, so you have to refill them with ammo. And they're quite expensive. They use iron bars to be made. I think all ships do. So it's not very useful considering you can't take out any real buildings with them at all. I don't know the range on the warship, but I don't think it's that far. Maybe you could like harass someone's eco with it. Not really worth it, I don't think. But yeah, that's all the ships. Okay, now into these buildings. Now you'll notice that over here above the mana section, there is the shield with 100% and the sword with 57%. Now that is actually your unit's strength. So the shield represents your unit's strength when they are in your territory. In other words, defending. That's why it's a shield. So your units always have 100% defense. Their strength in their own territory is always at least 100%. I don't know if it can go more, I haven't tried to get it more. Their attack when in other units' territories, like let's say I'm invading a territory and I'm attacking them, they will have the sword's percentage strength. So let's say they do 2 damage, all of a sudden they do 1 damage because it's only 57% and it's probably going to round down. This does increase naturally as the game progresses, but like it takes like hours for it to actually reach 100%. So what you do is you make eye catches and they will actually increase that number by a decent amount. You have to make like a ton of them, so I don't know if it's worth it. It might just be better to invest the resources into making like tier 3 units instead, because they use gold bars. I don't know what the trade-off is, I don't know how much each one's percentage adds. I'm assuming the more gold you use, the more you get in percentage, so I'm guessing this standard would give you the fucking most, because it uses 5 gold. But yeah, that's how you make your unit stronger when you want to attack. Aside from that, there is the commander unit. This guy here, he also buffs your units to make them stronger. He's just very expensive. He's not as expensive as you might think, and he has a unique or like a sort of nifty utility where if you group your units with him in it, because now I group these into number 1. The number 1 group, you can see it's here. This button opens up your groups, right? So if you group them into into a group of units, then all you have to do is select that one commander and right click him somewhere, and the whole group will follow at the same pace. So your units won't get separated, because archers move slower than swordsmen, and I think your squad leader moves faster than all of them, and mages move slowest out of all. So like if you've got all 4 types of units together and you just select the whole unit and right click, your swordsmen are gonna get there first, and then your bowmen are gonna get there when the battle's halfway done. Your mage isn't even gonna get there. So if you select your commander and right click, then they're all gonna stay grouped together. You know, you won't have people leading the pack and you won't get people falling behind. Very useful if you're not paying attention, or if you just want to send groups of units. I don't know. But yeah, overall it's a very well thought out game. Not that all of it's very useful. Like for example, there's this section, and what you can do is you can reserve units. And you can also increase your builders. So like let's say you're making like on average like 8 buildings at a time. Your 5 spade people and 5 builders are not going to keep up. So what you do is you go here, you go to this tab, and you make more than 5 of each. You can just add them. This is a +5 button. Look, now all of a sudden you got 10. Now I think it's depending on the building size, it's like 4 spade workers per foundation. So like if you're making 8 buildings, you need like 40 of these guys, because most likely they're gonna be big buildings, some of them. And I think it's similar with the builders. So you can just make more guys. So it's pretty useful for people that know. Of course they use the tools next to them, so you gotta make sure you got enough tools. Very important. Now you get a nice message like this when you this guy's run out of room. You see he's got a territory, this little circly thing. That's where he cuts stone. Now he can't get this stone because it's outside of my territory. So if you go then over here to the specialists tab, you get a whole bunch of special units. Now the thief can be one of the most OP units. It doesn't use a tool, it's just a guy. He puts on like a ski mask and like a blindfold with holes in it, and then he goes in. You can control him, and you just direct him to the enemy territory. Now in the enemy territory, he looks like let's say I had a thief. He would look like one of these guys. Looks exactly the same. The only way how you can spot them is if you're watching them and you notice them moving irregularly, or if they go near a military unit. Military units and military buildings reveal them. But what thieves can do, like they can just run in here, pick up one of my tools and just take it back to their territory. And I can't do anything about it. Unless I spot them with my units. Because I think they're also decently fast. So I don't know if swordsmen can actually catch them. I think they might have the same movement speed. So once they've got it and they're moving, they got it. It's this. You can't catch them. Okay, now back to here, you get a saboteur. I've never used a saboteur. Apparently he destroys buildings, like military buildings, I think. I've never used one. I think it says it uses a pickaxe here, but I think it uses a pickaxe and a spade. It doesn't just use a pickaxe. And yeah, I think they destroy military buildings. But I think they also get spotted by military units, so you can just like kill them. I don't think it's that useful a unit, because they're most likely gonna die before they do anything. And then the geologist I showed you earlier, they put all these signs up, and then this guy is a pioneer. Very useful. You get 5 pioneers, here they are. And you right click a random area that's not your territory, and they start digging. Look at them. Look, they pick up one of the little pegs and they move it further along. Watch this guy. He's gonna pick up a peg. What? There we go. He moved the peg. And then they slowly grow like a new territory, or they grow onto your territory. Basically, wherever you right click, they start like a circle from there, and they just carry on getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. They're very useful because then you don't have to tie up your soldiers in towers, because you end up with like 50 fucking soldiers in towers that you can't ever use. Because they're stuck in towers. So they're very useful. And then the last special unit is the Gardener. Now the Gardener has a very unique use against one of the factions. The Dark Faction, I think it's called. Basically they're like corruption and they're spreading everywhere, and like their territory is not like a territory like this, it's basically dead grass, so it's like black grass, and the only way to reclaim that territory and build stuff on it is to get a whole bunch of these gardeners, and they will turn the black grass into green grass, and that is the only way to fight those guys, because you can't build anything on their territory. And just because your territory goes over their territory, it doesn't mean it's not theirs anymore. It's still theirs, it's just yours as well. So you can have like overlapping territories like that, whereas with other civilizations you can't. They just bump up against each other. The Dark Civilization is the only one you can't play as. It is exclusively AI only. And also I imagine it's very boring to play as, because they only get like 3 different units and 1 building. 2 buildings. You get 2 buildings and 3 units, and that's it. So like they don't have all of these, they don't have all of these, they don't have all of these, they don't have all of these. They just got 3 buildings, 2 buildings, 3 units. That's it. They are extremely strong and very difficult to take out, but wouldn't be fun to play as, I'd imagine. So yes, and to find settlers, any settlers, because you can imagine late game where you've got like 1,000 people in your territory and you're looking for a special unit. Like let's say you need to find your geologists and you're like, oh, where the fuck are they? You can just go here, search your geologists, and then you can... There we go, there's one. Or you can click that and then you get all of them. Oh no, this one's only visible on screen, so like if you're like here and you click it, you don't get anyone because there's none of them here. But if you're here and you click it, you get all the ones in here. Yeah, and then this one is the global one. This is all of them. Whether they're on your screen or not. You can do the same with soldiers and all the other unique units. Basically, all of the units you can select. That's very useful. Onto the production tab. So this shows all of your resources that you have in your territory. Because like sometimes it can be hard to see how much you got and what you're doing, and if you need more tools, you know, I've got one saw, I'm not going to spot that saw, so come here and see if I have that saw. So I have that saw. If you look, it is over here behind this guy. There it is. You're not going to spot that most of the time, so it's just easier to look here and see, okay, I do have a saw, I can make a sawmill. Very good. Also, you can see all your other resources, like everything pretty much. This thing just toggles between global and local, so like if you have two territories, like one here and this one here, they're separate. So local would be, if you're looking at this territory, the local would be what's in this territory. If you're looking at this territory, the local would be what's in this territory. And then the global, everything. This is, oh, okay, so this is to prioritize distribution. This would have been useful earlier. So like the coal will be evenly distributed between all of the coal users. You know, all the buildings that use coal will get it evenly. Same with, okay, not same with the iron. Some are prioritized. The weaponsmith is prioritized, and then the least prioritized is the vehicle hall. Yeah, water is prioritized. Donkey ranch, grain mill, donkey ranch, and then the food. Okay, so by default it's set like that because it's almost impossible to figure out on your own what food the guys like. The AI does this weird thing where it gives all the mines all the food, but it's much better to only give the mine the food that they like because it's like 3 times better for production or something stupid like that. It says in the manual, but I can't remember. So yeah, it's the stone mine and the coal mine that eat bread, and then meat is the iron mine and the sulfur mine, and then fish is only the gold mine. I thought the fish was the gold mine and the sulfur mine, but it's only the gold mine. Very good. Then this is transport priority. So like, what you do is you do this, and then you press down, and then it moves it down the chain. So what'll happen is these guys, they'll be like, okay, what jobs are going on? Okay, there's buildings there, but these guys need resources and these guys need things. And then it'll go through the list and it'll be like, okay, they need food, but food's only here. More importantly is moving the planks, so let's move the planks first. And then they'll get to a place and they'll be like, okay, this place needs water, and then they'll be like, oh, food's more important, let's go do the food first. So you can adjust that here, like, I don't know. I've never used this because I never had to, because it's already in a very good order. Not really necessary to fiddle with that. And then the most useful page for tracking how well you're doing, the stats page. Now this is kind of a cheat because it just tells you the stats of all the other civilizations. Here it only shows me. But like if I was in an AI battle, I could keep track of their armies here. I could see it. I could see exactly how many soldiers they have. So this tab shows how many soldiers they have. So right now I have 33. So like if the AI was around and they'd had like 20, I'd be able to see that, oh, they only have 20, I can attack them. Or like they have 300 and I'm like, oh fuck, I need to make soldiers. And then of course there's the, what is this? Okay, units killed in battle, units lost in battle, and then buildings destroyed. And then if you go to oh yeah, there's the tabs. This is just the duration, so like over the last 15, 60, 20, 240 minutes. Games last long. This one is land statistics, so this will be like how big your territory is in a percentage of the map. How many settlers you got? I got 156 because I made this thing, and I got more, and then I lost because I made stuff. I made people into other things. And then how many resources? Oh, resources used. Okay, so this is like the total resources used in making buildings. So like when I make one of these, it takes 2 wood and 2 stone, so it'll add 4 to this total. Nothing that important. And then this is goods. Oh, so you can monitor how many, like everything they got. So you can just like look and see, oh, they've got like 300 bows, they're gonna make bowmen. I'll get ready for bowmen. But yeah, this tab is kind of cheaty. Though I suppose it doesn't matter because you're not playing PvP, no one plays this game and you can't play it multiplayer anyway. I don't think the servers have been running for like 20 years. So no one's gonna play this shit multiplayer. So this tab is cheaty, but like, who gives a shit? You're cheating against the AI. It's just letting you know if you're doing as good or better than them, or worse. And then it's got, for the minimap, all the generic tabs. You got buildings on or off, soldiers on or off, vills on or off, territory on or off. And then this thing, it's sort of useful, it's not really useful, I don't think. Basically it's like a second screen, so like you press this little aim icon and then like you click here. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it just worked like you click it there and then it looks a place the whole time. I didn't know you could click it on someone and then it follows them and you can watch them to see what happens. Oh, that's so useful. Because like randomly you'll make like geologists and then they'll go like wandering off like down here to go fucking check shit out and they'll die. Like you want to know what killed them, like if the enemy is there and how many soldiers they got. So this will sort of help, you know, it's like a little spectator screen. You can watch shit happening elsewhere while you're looking at other shit. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I think that is the entire basis of the game. It is a real cool game and well thought out game. It's very fun and I really enjoy it. And then here's the other shit. You got your little save, your little briefing. You can see your diplomatic relations here. I don't think you can really change your diplomatic relations with AI because they just don't give a shit. Then you can just leave the mission here. And then this is your settings. Now this is supposed to be filled with settings, but because of the version I've got, it doesn't have that. Instead, it's got a different file inside a folder inside the install folder that you run, and then you set up the settings there, just to make sure that nothing crashes or shit happens here. You can still adjust the sound, and you can see the difficulty you set it at. You can't change it here because that's pretty cheating, and then you can turn these, I think. No, that doesn't do anything. Okay, and then message filter. So you can turn off some messages. So you can actually turn... You can't turn this one off. The resource has been found one. Oh no, yeah you can. Okay, you can turn that off. Because you might find it annoying when these guys get started. They'll just like ping 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 the whole time. But I'm used to it, so I pretty much ignore it now. But yeah, that's the whole game. And how it all works. That's pretty fun to explain. I've never gotten to explain the whole game before. I really enjoyed that. And then this is the end screen. It just shows basic stats. You can look at your resources. It's just the stuff you can look at in-game. Same thing. And then yeah, that's the whole game. What I really like is like when you start a mission, like let's see here, you do like first Roman mission. It's got a whole story. Like it's got the mission name and then like the basic mission task, and then it's got the whole story behind it and all that stuff. This one's really short, and then like this is a hint. You don't have to click it, but it does tell you stuff, like keep your island's small size in mind and tear down some houses from time to time. So this is like a first mission, so it's very beginner. Basically what it's telling you is when you make residences, destroy them, they're going to be in the way, unless you need the beds. Yeah, this looks like an extremely easy mission because there's water, and we know AI does not know how to deal with water in strategy games. There is no AI I know of that manages water well. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to play this mission now. I think I'm going to save that for the next video. I talked an awful lot. Damn, the game closed faster than I thought it would. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video, maybe.